Good morning, Andrew.
Morning, Brick. So, this is what I'm doing for food in space. Every meal I eat a green, a yellow, a red, and a blue, and supposedly that's all the calories I need. And they taste disgusting. Oh God. All right, let's jump in. Hey, it's Andrew Huang. Yes, I brought a guitar to space with me, and this is Theory Thursday. So a question I've gotten a lot, and something that I used to struggle with myself, is creating more interesting chord progressions. It's easy to fall into some of the same old writing traps and feel like the progressions you're coming up with aren't that original or aren't that interesting. So I want to show you a few techniques today that will help you turn even the most basic progression into something a lot more compelling to listen to. So let's start with something that's very, very basic, a 2-chord progression. I'm in the key of E, and I'm just going to play an A and a B chord. 2 chords, doesn't get much plainer than that. So the first thing we're gonna do is add some passing chords. A passing chord is just like a shorter chord in between the main chords. And you can do this and still retain a lot of the original vibe of the chord progression you're working with. Like say you've already written a melody to it, but you just feel like the chords aren't great. The easiest passing chord to use is probably the one that's right next to the one that you're going to. And since we're already going from A to B, which are right next to each other in the key that we're in, we can go to one above the B and then come back down to it. So I'll be playing a C sharp minor and just play it for like 1 beat before changing over to the next chord. But you can pretty much throw in any other chord from the key and it'll probably be okay as a passing chord. Definitely experiment and see what sounds good to you. But just to give you a demonstration, we've got this A with a passing chord of C sharp minor to B, and I'll just play a bunch of other chords from E major leading back into the A. So being a passing chord from B to A. I think I like that last one the best there, the E major going back to the A major, so let's keep that in our example and then we'll keep developing it. So the next thing I want to suggest is changing up the rhythm. Plenty of songs just change chords every bar or every 2 bars, and a lot of the times that's fine. But sometimes it's just more interesting to add a bit of syncopation. So maybe going to the next chord early could be nice here. I like that. So another way that we could develop this is to extend the chord progression. And this doesn't have to mean like adding a whole bunch of new chords, adding a whole different progression on top of the one that you've already made. Actually, often it works better to just repeat most of it and then make a little variation. So you could change a chord, like maybe I'll play this twice in a row, but change one of the passing chords. But you could also take a less is more approach. So in this next playthrough, I'm actually going to take away the last passing chord and just hold the B the second time that I play it. Tip number, whatever we're on now, you could change the chord shape. There are tons of different ways to play every chord, so experimenting with different registers and different inversions, you know, like this is an A chord, this is an A chord, this is an A chord. We can even take away some notes and it would still be an A chord. So instead of the original thing I was playing like this, what if we just played 2 notes? A and C sharp, an octave and a third apart. So if we continue that with the other chords, it would be like this. Another way to change the shape of a chord is to have the bass note be one of the notes that's not the root. So normally we would play, say, an E major like this. But you can still have it have the E major feeling, but with a slightly different flavor by moving, say, that bass note to the G sharp. This is a weird way to play a chord, but it'll work for our demo. And that would lead nicely back into our A, because G sharp is just 1 note below A. This is such a wacky shape to play, but just, you know, program it or ask your bass player to do it. Don't do this with your hand. That feels like it'll cause problems down the road. Interestingly, if I go back to this spaced out thirds method of playing chords, if I play a G sharp minor, it's kind of the same as playing an E major with a G sharp in the bass. So we've played with the standard chords, we've played with taking some notes out of those chords. Extended chords are when you add notes to the typical root, third, fifth of a chord. So if we put a seventh on every chord in our progression, it would sound like this. Oh, I kind of botched that. You could do ninths. Typically, I wouldn't put the exact same type of extension on every chord. Every extension has its own type of flavor, so it's really a matter of getting to know them and what kind of emotions they impart and choosing how you want to use them. There might be some interesting things where the seventh of a chord leads into like the third of the next chord, that kind of thing. Actually, that makes me think of something that I wasn't planning on talking about, but it totally fits in with kind of the extended chord thing and also notes leading into other notes. Suspensions. Typically, this happens with a fourth going to a third. But you could also do a 9 coming down to the octave. You could do a 6 going down to a fifth. The last technique I want to share with you today is inserting some chords that are not from the key that you're in. And this one is the wackiest thing that we're going to be looking at today. It'll definitely take the most experimentation because once you start going outside the key, things can start to sound a little bit jarring much more easily. So just take some playing around to find some interesting flavors that you like. But working with chords that are outside of a single key can lead to some of the most interesting music. So I don't know, let's just mess around with what we were playing with before. I'm reaching for more passing chords, basically. Stuff that leads into what comes next in an even more outside the box and interesting way than just like another note from the key. But you can also do chord progressions where the main chords are just completely outside the box, you know?
I used to say, it's all the same, it's all the same, the day, the night, the truth, the lie, but all the same, it falls away, the cracks, the sun.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on notifications. There's also this playlist of my space videos that you can check out if you need to catch up. A lot of adventures happening up here. I'll see you next time.